Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's broadcast of the Wednesday Lunchtime Drive-Thru. We still have some people that are logging on to join us today, and so we'll give them just a few moments to make sure that everything is good here. I'm going to stop sharing this and reshare. There we go. That's what I want to do. All right, very good. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. Again, I'm trying a new mic today. I'm trying to give you guys better sound, and I've got a different mic that I had last week. I want to give a quick shout out to all of our wonderful clients who are on the call today. We've got Forrest and Diane. We've got John and Lori. We've got Kathy and Eric. We've got Marty and Pam. Stephen and Rochelle are on today. And then we've got a lot of our other regulars here. I'll give a shout out to JD is here. Randy is always here. Steve is always here. So welcome to everybody. We'll give it just another couple of minutes here to give people an opportunity to log on. So I hope that wherever you're at today, you are having a wonderful day. And coming up here at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock, today is Fed Day. And so we should have another decision on interest rates. I don't expect that they're going to change interest rates today. I think they're going to keep them where they're at. We shall see. But I think that's probably going to be the play for the Federal Reserve today. So far, we have seen oil prices spike, and then they've come back a little bit. And right now, they're still floating around $95 a barrel, which is slightly above that range of $70 to $85 that we've talked about being sort of the place where inflation may not be as big of a deal. I'm sure you've seen gas prices go up significantly in your area. I paid 50 cents more a gallon the other day for the same gas. So obviously gas prices have gone up. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed for the most part. There's really no traffic going in or out. And right now, that's really the only play that Iran has, is to choke the Strait of Hormuz. So we'll see how long that lasts. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started now. I think everybody that's going to join has joined. So we're going to talk about 5 side hustles that anybody can do, particularly in retirement. And the reason I got to thinking about this is, hold on just a second, I'm going to turn off some notifications here on my phone. The reason I started thinking about this is I talk to a lot of people, as you might imagine, who are either retired or very close to retirement. And one thing that I hear over and over is, Damon, I love being retired. I love that I am in control of my schedule, but sometimes I find retirement boring. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do with my day or with my time. And a conversation that we have with everybody is, well, have you thought about a part-time job? Have you thought about doing something on the side? Not a ton of hours per week, but just a little something, not even necessarily for the money, but to keep you occupied, keep you engaged, keep you sharp, and have some kind of structure and order to your day. And I found these 5 hustles that people can do that require very little to no effort. And so we're going to go through those today. Again, if you've got questions, comments, or if you know of a side hustle that you've tried or you're doing right now that required little to no effort, but brought in some cash during retirement, I'd love to know about it. Share it here. You can use the Q&A button down in your toolbar. So let's go ahead and get started. There we go. So working in retirement has certainly become far more common than it used to be. Many retirees find that even just after 1 month of being retired, they are bored. You know, they need somewhere to go, something to do with their time. Now, some of you may be saying, I don't know what these crazy people are talking about. I'm not bored one bit. I've got plenty going on in retirement, and I don't need a side job to go with it. That's fine. Everybody's different. But this is becoming a bigger thing. Most people will find some kind of a hobby. What is true, though, for everybody, you can't just sit around and do nothing. I mean, you can, but you're going to be bored. And if you sit around doing nothing in retirement, that generally leads to an early grave, a premature grave. And you don't want that. So most people will go out and find some kind of a hobby. If there's something that they love doing that they didn't get to do while they were working, they'll pour their time into that. I've got a client named Craig. He's an artist. He loves to draw. And when he was working, he really didn't have a lot of time for that. But now that he's retired, he's taking art classes. He is reconnecting with something that he loved doing when he was younger, and he's really good at it. In fact, he drew a pencil drawing of Victoria. I mean, he looked at a picture and transferred it to another piece of paper in pencil. I am very envious of people who can do something like that. That is not a skill I have. I struggle drawing stick figures. Okay. I can ruin a stick figure. That's how bad I am at drawing. But as many of you know, I like to sing. So I'm a member of a community chorus here in town. In fact, the piece of music that you heard, those of you who are in the waiting room, the piece that you heard me playing was a piece that I actually performed on stage with the Oklahoma City Philharmonic just a few months ago. So whatever your thing is, you got to find something. A lot of people choose going back to work, and they do this on their own terms. They control their hours. They've got all of this, and you have all of this knowledge. You've got all of this experience that is valuable to somebody. Whether you're going to consult with your old company, we've got a lot of clients that become a paid private consultant for their former employer. They end up making more money as a private consultant than they did when they were a W-2 employee, which is kind of crazy. Going back to work, and if you find something that you enjoy, you get the best of both worlds. You get cash flow, which you need in retirement, and you have a new purpose. You have something else occupying your time. And some of these side gigs that I'm going to show you can be pretty lucrative. Now, these are not get-rich-quick schemes. These are not things that you're going to become wealthy overnight. But as those of you who are already retired know, a dollar's a dollar. And every dollar that comes in every month is helpful for the budget. And if you string some of these things together, you can bring in quite a bit of extra cash each month, depending on what you do. So according to Kiplinger, approximately 20% of retirees in the United States held some kind of paying side gig in retirement during the years 2023 to 2025. Nearly 40% of baby boomers expect a side hustle to be a source of significant income for them in retirement. And some are driven by inflation pressures. So again, our clients, we have income plans that are adjusted for inflation, long-term 3% to 3.5% inflation. However, if you don't have that and you're getting squeezed by inflation, prices going up, you may feel compelled or have to go back to work, or even if it's just part-time. So some people are driven by inflation. Others just want to stay active. They want to stay engaged in their community. There are 5 popular side hustles that can be both lucrative as well as realistic for beginners, meaning it doesn't take a lot of specialized knowledge or skills to be able to do these jobs. You can literally learn on the job, and a lot of these don't even require that you leave your house. And you're like, how is that possible? In our new economy today with remote work, virtual work, that sort of thing, these side gigs, many of these, don't require that you even leave your house. So let's get into some of these, all right? I know some of you are very excited and interested. So the first one is called paid market research. There are companies that want feedback from real people. And you can go on certain platforms that will connect you to companies who are hiring people like you to do market research for a new product or service that they want to launch to the marketplace. A couple of platforms that are very popular for this are, one is called User Interviews. The other one is called Respondent. And you can join these platforms, and then you can search for open focus groups or market research calls. Again, these are online. Or phone call. They don't require you to leave your house. If you're selected, you join a Zoom call with a researcher. You answer some questions for anywhere from half an hour to an hour, and you get paid. Sounds like a great deal, right? Now, the pay varies. It's anywhere from $50 to $80 for a 30-minute session, $75 to $100 for 1 hour. And you're not going to qualify for everything that you apply for. but you can likely get one or two of these per month. And if you string some of these together, you can earn some extra money, and they're relatively easy and they're low stress. Okay. So these are some really cool things. If you'll pardon me, someone just came in our front door. I've got to step away for just a second. I'll be right back. Okay. Hi. Oh, okay. I don't know where he is at. What is it?
Okay, it's right here.
Oh, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, can I?
Yes, and that's just right around the corner.
Okay.
Very well. All right. Thank you very much for your patience. It's Grand Central Station around here at the office, and everybody was on the phone, and somebody walked in the door, and I had to go handle it. So anyway, all right. So paid market research is one of those ways that you can earn some extra cash. Here's another one: niche gig economy apps. All right. So a lot of people know about Uber and DoorDash. You can sign up for these things, and you can earn some extra cash by driving people around or picking up food and taking it to people. However, there's another opportunity called a share town. Now, I think this one's kind of cool. You can actually go around. So people go to furniture stores, they go to bedding places and buy these large pieces, okay? These big, giant pieces that are typically delivered at your home in these big trucks. Well, what if you need to return them? It's not like just taking it down to the post office and mailing it back like an Amazon package. These are big things, and you have to schedule pickup for these things to take them back. Well, ShareTown allows you as a private person to register and become one of their agents. Then you can go and pick up these returned items like mattresses and furniture. You then hold on to them. You sell them on Facebook Marketplace or some other place like that. And the money that you get from that, you give half to the retailer that initially sold the item, and you keep the other half. The retailers love this because they get some of their money back, and they don't have to take possession of this piece of inventory that they no longer want. They don't have space for it anyway. So you can do this. And there are some retirees who are doing this and making a few $1,000s a month with little to no risk. Other apps include Dolly and Lug, which help you to, or which pay you to help people who want to move. All right. So they don't want to hire a moving company who's going to charge them thousands of dollars, but they can hire you at a much reduced cost to come in and help them move for the weekend. All right. Now, for something like this with ShareTown, you're going to need your own vehicle. So you're probably going to need a truck. You're going to need a place to store all this stuff. So you're probably going to need some kind of a garage or even maybe a warehouse. And I also have some concerns about picking up used mattresses. Furniture is fine, but used mattresses, you never know if somebody has bed bugs, lice, things like that. You never know what they did on those mattresses, if you know what I mean, before they decided to return them. So I'm a little suspect about picking up a used mattress, even if they've only held it for like a weekend or something like that. But the furniture, that sort of thing. So this is kind of a cool thing. You can look that up, ShareTown, and could be an interesting thing to look at. What about rewards and discovery apps? These apps pay you for downloading other apps. All right. So there are app developers, and they want people to use their apps and see what it's like, give them feedback on how easy is it to use. Is it fun? That sort of thing. Well, this is an app that you can get on, and it's a platform where you can find other apps that are being tested. You can do things like play mobile games that are brand new before they go to market. You can try new products and services. One of the most popular of these apps is called Scrambly. All right. And I've gone to all these websites and I've looked. Scrambly, when you look at it, there are all these different games. It's mostly games. That's what's on the front page, but there are other things. But there are all these games you can play. And you're not paying to play these games. In fact, what you're doing is as you play a game, you earn little tokens. And these tokens can then be converted to cash or even gift cards that you can use. All right. And then you can transfer these items, convert them to cash, and then transfer them from PayPal to your bank account, something like that. Now, the good news is you get to sit around and play games, maybe. And if you're playing games on your phone anyway, or iPad, great. You're not going to earn a ton of money really quickly on this. All right. The average earnings are $4 to $5 an hour. So it's not going to be a major source of cash, but there are worse things than being paid to play games. Right. And I know a lot of you like to play mobile games. So that's kind of a cool thing. There are other things that you can test there as well. Here's another one that I find very interesting. And obviously, this is something that is becoming more and more valuable to many businesses. And that is getting people to test AI generated content, or more specifically, to test the platforms, the AI that is generating this content. So to ensure that their AI is performing the way it's supposed to, they have to hire human beings to test it. So for example, before ChatGPT was launched, I promise you, OpenAI, who was the creator of ChatGPT, hired a bunch of human beings to test it to make sure that it was functioning properly before they launched it to the world. The same thing with Claude and Perplexity and all these different AI chatbots that are out there today. But you can register with a platform like Micro One. That's the most popular one that I found. When you first register and before you can start working, it requires a 20-minute screening process. I don't know what this process entails. I haven't gone through it. I thought about signing up for it just to see what it was all about. But once you do that and you pass the screening process, you can start to apply for paid projects where you're testing AI. The work is fairly consistent because this stuff is coming out all the time. And there are some people that are making almost a full-time job out of this. They're doing this stuff for 30 to 40 hours a week, and they're doing it all from the comfort of their own homes. The pay varies wildly, and some projects require specialized education. For example, it'll say, well, we're looking for PhDs, or we're looking for, people who were in law enforcement or whatever, So there's going to be some of that. But a lot of it is general knowledge, general education, general use. And from what I could tell, it does not cost anything to join Micro One. You just sign up. And then if you go through the clearing process, you can start testing AI or data annotation, these kinds of pieces of software. All right. And then finally, we've got website and app testing. So similar to companies who hire people to test AI or new products and services, companies pay users to test websites and apps that are under development before they've gone out to the market. And there are certain sites, some are, or a few are called Playtest Cloud, Userlytics, and Trimata. These are the most popular platforms for doing this. Once you're signed up with them, you test the product, you provide your honest feedback. Most of these tests range from 15 to 20 minutes. They'll pay you 10 to 20 bucks. Again, if you can string, several of these together. I mean, let's say you schedule, a few of these in an hour every 20 minutes, or actually you could do 15 of these or you could do 4 of these at 15 minutes, 4 of them an hour. If you could find a way to get paid $15 for each one, you're making 60 bucks an hour, right? There are worse things in the world than making 60 bucks an hour just sitting around testing websites and apps, right? Some of these last a full hour and could pay anywhere from $50 to $100. So, what if you do it for an hour and you make 100 bucks and you do 4 or 5 of these a day? It's up to you, right? But you do have to sign up and you have to claim the tests when they become available, and it's first come, first served. So you have to be on there. And again, some people treat this as a little side gig that they go ahead and do it for 4 or 5 hours a day, 3 days a week, something like that. They come up with a regular schedule, and you could be doing this as well. Let's see. Do I have any others? I think that was the last one. Okay, actually. So some things to know before you start doing this. All right. These all sound great, but before you try anything, as wonderful as it sounds, you should do some due diligence. All right. If it's too good, sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I would certainly recommend that even with these platforms and apps that I've told you about today, you should go check them out. All right. You should go and look on other things like Reddit or other user boards. Get into the community of people who are doing these side gigs in retirement. See what they have to say. Ask questions. If you know anybody else that's doing this kind of stuff, ask them, what's your experience been like? Are you actually making money? Have there been any difficulties? Is there anything that seems like a big scam about any of this stuff? If someone is promising massive hourly income with little to no downside, that's a big red flag. Nothing truly comes for free, right? There's always a cost, even if that cost is your time or you've got to jump through some hoops to get there. None of you on the call today probably need the money. You would like extra money, we all would, but nobody on the call today really needs the money. So why would you want to choose something that's going to stress you out? You don't need that in your life. You retired so that you can get rid of that stress or at least reduce it significantly. So don't go look for something stressful. You want to look for something that is going to be fun, that you're going to continue to do consistently, and that you get to dictate terms. How many hours per week do you want to commit to something like this? And if it brings in a couple hundred extra bucks a month, well, that's a few tanks of gas, or, that's your dining budget for the month, right? You're just looking to fund one line item in your monthly budget. These could be a great way to stay engaged, bring in a little bit of extra cash, and that sort of thing. So I'm curious, do you have any questions, or are any of you doing anything like this? Are you doing some little side gig? Looks like we got a question that came up here. Bill says it's all about the money, honey. You know what, Bill? You're exactly right. I bet that would make the title of a really great book, maybe even a radio show. And you could get some dashing guy with a great radio voice to co-host that show. That would be a great idea. So thank you, Bill. But is anybody doing anything like this? Does anybody have a side gig that they're doing in retirement or anything that you considered? I'll tell you one little side gig that I'm working on right now, and it's going to take some time to get there, I think. But I love listening to audiobooks. That's how I listen to audio, or that's how I read books, is I listen to audiobooks on my phone. I drive into work, I drive home, and that's about a 40-minute drive for me every day. So I get more than an hour of listening time for these books. And I listen to, 15, 20 books a year that way. Well, I have been told throughout my life, and some of you have said it to me, Damon, you've got a great voice for radio. And here lately, I've been having more and more people say, you know what, you could narrate audiobooks. So you know what? I signed up with a site to submit some demos. So I went into our little studio here. I demo recorded me reading some books, nonfiction, fiction, that sort of thing. And I've started submitting those. I don't know if anything's going to come out of it, but who knows? Maybe I'll have a little side gig as an audiobook narrator. We'll see. So what are your talents? What are some things that you're looking at doing that you can make a little bit of extra money? Does anybody have anything that they're looking at for doing? Let's see. What time is it? While you're thinking, we still have about 7 minutes left on today's show. So a lot of you, I'm going to transition here. Now, if you still have something you want to share about a side gig, great. But I do want to transition into talking about current events. A lot of people have continued to ask me, a few weeks ago, you shared your thoughts on the war in Iran, what's going on there, what's going on with the markets. Has your opinion changed at all? And my long-term opinion has not really changed at all. We still believe that the inflation, that oil prices are going to continue to fluctuate. They're going to run a little hotter than normal. here for a little while, which means gas prices are going to run a little hotter than normal, which means that everything is probably going to go up in price. We're going to see inflation run a little bit hotter than normal. We do have a question that's come in here. Forrest says, there is great satisfaction telling your old boss, no, I'm not interested in coming back. It got my blood pressure down. I'm fine at home. You know what? Forrest, I think there was a song about that. Take this job and shove it. Don't you? Everybody remembers that song, right? So yeah, especially if you had a job that was very stressful and you want to be able to tell your boss, no, I'm not coming back. I don't care if you haven't found my replacement. That's your problem. It's not my problem anymore. I get it. Bill says, I came in late. Where can I see what I missed? So I tell you what I'm going to do, Bill. I record every single one of these, and I'll send you the recording of this today so that you can see what we talked about. Okay, now we're getting some feedback here. Steven says, if someone is handy with tools, handyman jobs for cash payments can be a fun source of income. And that is true. And Steven does that. Steven has done a lot of really cool, he built pergolas at his house. And he's done some other things for people, and he's handy with tools. He's handy with carpentry skills and that sort of thing. And I would extend that to anything. Whether you're handy with carpentry skills, plumbing skills, how to install various computer equipment, set up smart TVs. Do you know how many people buy these complicated smart TVs and they don't know how to set them up? That's good income for your teenage kids or your grandkids who are really good with electronics. So there are all different ways to make money. It's very simple. All you got to do is look where problems are. And if you've got a solution to a problem, you can probably figure out a way to make some money off of that or to help somebody else make some money off of that. So thanks to Forrest. I appreciate that. Bill, I'll send you the recording of this presentation today. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. In fact, as soon as we're done here, I'll turn right around. Well, it takes a little bit of time for Zoom to process it and put it into a format where you can watch it. But once I get that done and it's rendered, I'll get that sent over to you. And if anybody else wants the recording for today, I'll be happy to send that out. Susan says, I am still open to exploring affiliate marketing. Yeah, and Susan, I know you've talked about that, looking for other streams of income. Susan's really good about looking for other streams of income. She's talked about real estate in the past, but Susan, I'd be interested to know, what is affiliate marketing? If you could maybe tell more about that here, I'd be happy to share that with those in the group. Is anybody else looking at any side gigs? Anything that you want to do or that you would like to share with others? And I'm not talking about necessarily Amway or something like that. I know some of you may be into that. Many years ago, when I was 18 years old, I had a guy that I went to church with, and he said, Damon, how would you like to own your own business? I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm 18. I want to own my own business. And he said, well, come over to my house. I'm having a meeting with some friends. And I said, cool. And I get over there and I find out what this is. And I'd never heard of Amway before. But he gave me a set of tapes back when, you still had tapes. And I had a little tape deck in my car. I was listening to these stories of these people who've made all this money selling Amway and really having their down level people. And that's when I first became aware of the term multi-level marketing. I had never heard that term before, but I became acquainted with it at that time. So anyway, Susan says, we grew up on Amway. Yeah. A lot of people have done it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a scam. Obviously people are doing it. And for a lot of people it works. And for some people it doesn't. The multi-level marketing is not a Ponzi scheme. I guess you could call it a pyramid scheme. It requires on this, but it works. Mary Kay is really nothing more than multi-level marketing, right? That's what it is. People who sold Avon for a long time. My mom always got the Avon catalog at the house. I remember seeing them lying around the house. So that's what a lot of that is. So there's nothing wrong with that if you are good at it and you know how to build relationships. Okay, it's 12:59, so we should be getting the Fed decision coming in. You know, I like to report that to you live on the air here, hot off the press. It's still 12:59, so I don't think that we have a decision yet. But as soon as it comes across, I will let you know. I think that again, I don't think we're going to see any movement on interest rates here today, but I'm looking to see what they say here. We'll see that here in just a second. But anyway, back to my comments about the war in Iran. Obviously, it's gone on longer, and it looks like it's going to continue to continue. And what are we seeing today? You know, the market's been up, it's been down. What is the S&P today? It's down just over 0.5%. So we're seeing today's a down day. Tomorrow will probably be up. Usually, when the market's down, that probably means the oil prices have gone up. So let's see what oil prices are. Yeah, oil prices are up today about 1/3%. They're sitting right now just under $96 a barrel. Again, so long as we can stay under that $100 a barrel mark consistently, there will still be inflation, but it's unlikely to be terrible inflation, and it's certainly very unlikely to trigger a recession. That's not something that we have a concern about. On the year, what is the S&P 500? Again, it seems like things are really terrible. But did you know that really on the year, the S&P's down less than 3%? It's down 2.6% on the year. All right. That's nothing. That's nothing. So don't allow the fear, don't allow all the headlines and the constant news to rattle you. The market is down barely 3% on the year. That's nothing. That's nothing. All right. So don't worry about it. Don't worry right now. Don't make an emotional decision with your money. Let's see if we have any headlines right now. I'm looking here. So core inflation for the month of January came in at 3.1%. So that's slightly higher than they wanted. Job growth in February was weaker. So as I've said many times, we have seen some weakening in the labor market, which many people felt would trigger the Fed to lower interest rates to stem that tide. But that's not enough. The U.S. shed 92,000 non-farm jobs in February. It sounds terrible. It's really not that big of a deal. We would need to see a much bigger increase in unemployment to have any fear. Here we go. Right off there, 1 minute ago, the Fed opted to keep interest rates steady Wednesday, a decision that is in step with market expectations, but at odds with President Donald Trump's economic agenda. At the conclusion of the two-day meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee voted again to maintain its target for the federal funds rate at 3.5 to 3.75% after choosing not to lower rates also at January's meeting. So there you go. Interest rates are staying the same, just as we expected. So no change there, and we'll see if that remains the same. Of course, we've got a new incoming Fed chairman in May. So all eyes are on May and what's going to happen once Kevin Warsh is in the chair that Jerome Powell is in right now. We'll have to wait and see. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being on the call. And we'll see you again next week on the Wednesday Lunchtime Drive-Thru. Take care. See you soon.